Hi, I'm Caitlin Gomez here at the GBTA broadcast studio, and I'm very glad that Saul Shanagher, Director of Travel Be Wise, and sorry I messed up your name totally. Next time I'll remember the silent G. But thank you for joining us. So companies focus a lot on the high profile events, so such as terrorist attacks and so forth, and less on the everyday risks. So where do you think you come in there?
Well, it's an interesting one because with high-profile events, of course, you're dealing with, whilst they're very unlikely to happen, people get worried about it. So therefore, it's not something you can ignore, because if you've got a traveller and they're worried about that, then you have to alleviate their worry. You have to put in perspective of the other risks that are out there and the very real risks they might face, to comfort them and to make them feel comfortable going on the travel so they're productive, they're not worried, and their family aren't worried. Family can often be worried as well. And perception is a tricky one. I have an American friend who is coming to London, and he was really worried. He's like, well, I'm not sure if I'll come in the summer because, you know, the risk. And I sort of said, look, I will come up with my children and I will go everywhere you want to go in London. You know, that's the sort of reality of the risk, but it needs to be addressed. Along with the everyday risks, and you know, they are the ones that will hit you.
So it's kind of like having what you did for your friend, but just on a company standard, more broadly, right?
Exactly. It's putting it in perspective of the reality of it. And you know, often you're going to win the lottery before you get hit by a terrorist anywhere.
Well, but I think that's really important for people to understand, because in this day and age when the news is so omnipresent, right, and you feel like you're hearing about the risks and the dangers a lot more than you used to, it doesn't mean it's been heightened. It's just more that it's in your face all the time. You know?
And I think 24-hour news cycles have, you know, a lot to answer for in increasing risks and not really explaining what the real threat is and the probability of it happening to you.
So companies rely too much on their travel policies rather than being proactive. Has that been what you found?
It's sort of an interesting one, and having seen this question before, I think someone once said to me, they said, you know, what does the CEO of a company lie awake worrying about at night? And they're looking at you know, a lot of what they do is reputation, and reputation is what have we got in place to help our travellers and to help protect the company reputation. And that involves having insurance assistance, having tracking so you know where people are, so you can be proactive and reach out and get things done. Is the CEO going to lie awake at night worrying about someone who's been pickpocketed, someone who's lost their passport, someone who's got traveller's diarrhea? They're not really, are they? And these are sort of everyday things that happen. And the reality on the ground is that, you know, you have workers who can't do anything because they're in their hotel room for 3 days, or they're replacing their passport. So it's not big impact stuff, but you know, the risks of that happening are higher. And you know, I guess the C-suite isn't necessarily interested in the education process for that, but they are going to make sure that all the high-level stuff is in place to support their travellers.
Well, and I guess if you weren't taking care of it on the back end, then it would be more prominent in their minds, and then that would not be where they want to be. So it's kind of, you don't want it to be forefront of their mind, you want it to be on your mind so that you're taking care of it and easing it so they know they have someone taking care of them, right? Yeah. So what training should companies give in advance of travel?
I think training relevant to the risks that travellers face. And you know, in England we have a Health and Safety Act to cover training, and you know, you're not allowed to lift a heavy box nowadays without, you know, going through training. And you've got to wear gloves, you've got to wear glasses in case a bit of cardboard splinters off and blinds you. But we still send people off to parts of the world with no training at all. And you know, a lot of travel safety training, you know, could be said to be common sense, but you know, the first time you assume someone's got common sense is when you're in for a big shock. So really, it's risk appropriate. It's very good in a hostile environment. People get hostile environment training, but actually, as we've seen, you know, traditional low-risk countries, Western Europe, there's a lot of risks there. And you know, for example, we've just released a situational awareness video to educate people in just how to be aware of your surroundings, which, you know, with terrorism and petty crime and everything else, it's really your best defense. To just, you know, look up from your phone screen.
No.
And you know, see what's going on around you, and then you can.
And be aware in the real world, real time. Absolutely, yeah. Those, I think that would be considered one of the emerging travel risks, right? Of people not paying attention.
I think it's huge, and you know, if you go down any street in Boston, you will see half the people there are looking like this. And I think, you know, criminals see what's an easy target, and we, for example, in London have had a spate of moped-enabled crime recently, which, you know, has exponentially increased, and partially because the police unfortunately killed someone on a moped.
Oh, wow.
And then the police were told you cannot chase people on mopeds.
So
So criminals who are on mopeds realise they're not going to be chased. And so
Wow.
these things happen, but on the whole, in terms of emerging trends, it's the everyday stuff. The everyday stuff isn't going to go away, and you know, you can't really, you know, there'll be variations of high-profile things, but still the risk is quite low.
So managing and mitigating that risk is really important.
And if you're aware, if you just keep your head up and face the oncoming traffic, you know, you're going to see things coming towards you, and you can take evasive measures if it does.
Well, Saul, Shanagher,
Brilliant.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us
Pleasure,
today.
Caitlin. Thank
And
you.
that's all for now from the GBTA Broadcast Studio. Thank you.